Not everyone gets that feeling in their heart that they want to be Muslim. And so, of course, Allah Ta'ala, He's the one who guides and misguides. Allah Ta'ala, He is the one who makes the heart of the person open to Al-Islam. And so for this person, we know that Allah will goodness for them. As for the one who Allah Ta'ala did not will goodness for, his heart is closed off to Al-Islam. And they are repelled by Islam. They do not want to be Muslim. They don't want to have the correct belief. They don't want to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't want to believe in an afterlife. They don't want to believe in consequences for their actions. They don't want to believe that drinking alcohol is forbidden. They don't want to believe that eating pork is forbidden. They don't want to believe that there is a judgment day. They don't want to believe in the devil. They don't want to believe in the existence of angels. They don't want to believe in an authority that judges them. They don't want to feel that they are wrong for committing sin. They are offended that you think that they're committing a sin. They are offended that you think that the lifestyle that they chose is bad. They don't want judgment. They don't want repercussions. They don't want consequences. They want to do whatever they want to do. They want to follow whatever desire that they want to follow. And they don't want anyone to tell them no. And they don't want anyone to tell them this is bad, this is wrong. And so that is one of the biggest, or one of the uh, major characteristics of evil. So yes, the evil exists. I mean, the evil that is within the person, it comes out, it manifests through their words, through their actions, through what they like, through what they are inclined towards, through their perspectives, through how they treat other people, what they think and what they feel in their heart, and what they believe in their heart, and what they have in their heart. It shows through what we see with their words, with their actions, etc. So, and that's one of the wisdoms behind this dunya, is that we see what people show. We see what everybody shows. So on Judgment Day, those people that they refuse to believe, and they said, why should I follow this and why should I follow that? Why can't I do whatever I want? Why can't I say whatever I want? Why can't I wear whatever I want? Why can't I eat whatever I want? Why can't I listen to whatever I want? Those people on Judgment Day, when they're going to be judged and they're going to be questioned and they're going to be scolded and they're going to be terrified about what they're going to face, they can't deny anything. They can't turn around and say, I didn't do it. They can't turn around and claim that they're innocent. Why is that? Because we saw you do that. We saw you did that. And that's what this generation says. Like when someone um when someone makes an impact, or when someone does something that resonates, or when someone accomplishes something in an expert fashion, they say, you did that. You did that. Yeah, you did that. Yeah, you wore that. Yeah, you said that. Yeah, you ate that. Yeah, you posted that. And even like with social media, it becomes even more apparent with people posting their lives, those moments. They post themselves at the concert, they post themselves at the club, they post themselves drinking alcohol, they post themselves doing drugs. Yeah, you did that. So those are what manifestations of what lurks within, of what the person has inside. So those who reject Islam, those who say, I don't want to be Muslim, and they obviously are misguided. Obviously, Allah did not make their hearts accepting of Islam. Yani, what those people have inside their hearts of the evil became shown and became known through their words, through their actions, and through their refusal to become Muslim, through their rejection. And so we are glad that we're not among those people. That's what separates us from the non-Muslims. Now, amongst the Muslims, right? Because you always have to make the separation. You always have to make be able to make the distinction, have the differentiation, right? Just like, you know, when you have in your house, you have a little drawer for your shirts, a little drawer for your pants, a little drawer for your underwear, a little drawer for your socks. Or do you just throw everything in the same pile? You just throw everything in the same jar? No, most people they separate. They put their shirts in one place, they put their pants in another place, they put their towels in another place, right? Everything has its place. Even like let's say dishes. You have your plates, then you have like your bowls, and you have your cups, or do you just throw them all into the same spot? No, you don't. There's categories. So even with the bigger things, there's categories. So, and within the category of the non-Muslims, already we know their situation. They are who they are. They're lost. They're blind. They're non-Muslims. They're kafirs. They're kuffar. They're the worst of creations. But also amongst Muslims, right? So we share. What do we share as Muslims? We share the creed. So we have the same belief, and that's the best thing. That's the number one thing. That is uh, that's what unites us. Okay. But in terms of manifestation, then there is like within an Islam, also what does the person choose to do? So either the person is ignorant or either the person is knowledgeable. And when I say ignorant, it means that they don't know the obligatory knowledge. Because the one who at least knows the obligatory knowledge, he can be pious. So when I say ignorant, I mean ignorant of the obligatory knowledge. I don't mean like ignorant of speaking Arabic or like knowing tafsir of the Quran. Just talking about someone who doesn't even know, for example, how does dhuhr start? They don't know. You ask them, what are the integrals of wudu? They're like, an integral? What's an integral? If you ask them like, what are the invalidators of wudu? Yeah, they won't know. They might know one, they might know two, but they won't know like all of them. So this is what I mean by ignorance. So the ignorant Muslim, what are they going to manifest? They're going to manifest many mistakes. They're going to manifest many sins because they're ignorant, because they don't know. So what are they going to do? They might get confused and mix together cultural aspects within their interactions. So something that an ignorant tradition, let's say, that occurs in their culture, because they're ignorant, they don't know the obligatory knowledge. They think that this is the rule, or they think that this is the way, and so that is has a negative effect. So that has to do with arrogance and other issues. So this is why we're grateful to Allah, and we are thankful that we have access to the authentic teachings of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So we're gonna continue on with the sins of the hand. And here for the sins of the hands, we're going to give an overview of this particular one here, homicide. So, which is like killing, right? Killing. So, in all cases of killing, right? Because there's different cases. Some types of killing is intentional, right? So, deliberate murder, and the definition of that um, intentional killing is uh, targeting the person with lethal force. Yani, for example, pointing a gun at a specific person, wanting to point the gun at a specific person, and shooting them with the gun. So, because being shot with a gun usually leads to death. So, something that usually kills, right? So that is the that is the definition of the intentional killing. So you have intentional killing. You also have the accidental killing, right? Accidental, completely accidental, right? Completely accidental. So the other end is like you weren't even trying to hit the person. You weren't targeting the person, and they died because of it. And what's the example that we gave last class? We said like if someone is hunting in the forest, they're shooting the bow and arrow, they're trying to hit the deer, right? So that they can eat the deer. And so when they shot the arrow, after they shot the arrow left the bow, it's flying through the air. While the arrow's flying through the air, somebody jumps in front of the deer and they get hit in the head with the arrow and they die. That's completely accidental. Completely accidental. So that's called accidental killing. So we already mentioned two now, the intentional killing and the accidental killing. Intentional killing is like, what they call first degree murder. Like they wanted to kill that person and they killed that person. That's, the worst. Then you have the accidental killing, which is at the other end of the spectrum. There's no sin for it. There's no sin for the accidental killing. Because the person, wasn't even trying to kill that person. Like that person jumped in front of the arrow. Like, what can you do? It's not your fault. And then you have a certain type of killing that's in the middle. It's called uh, semi-intentional, right? Semi-intentional, which is when you are targeting that person, but not with lethal force, but they end up dying. So, let's say there's two people arguing, right? Their arguing is getting heated when they're yelling in each other's faces. And then one of them, let's say, shoves the other one, right? He shoves him, he pushes him. Does the person usually die from that if you push them? No, they don't usually die from that. But this person, he got shoved, right? And then he didn't know that there was like something slippery behind him, and like when he got shoved back, he slipped backwards, he fell, and he landed right on the base of his skull, cracked his skull, and died. So this is called semi-intentional, shibhu amd, or like intentional. Yeah, you want to call it manslaughter? It might be fitting. I mean, he wasn't trying to kill that person, but he targeted that person. So they were arguing, or like let's say he was, you know, for example, in this scenario, they were arguing. He shoved him. That guy didn't fall and slip backwards. Instead, what he do? He slapped him, and he got shoved. And that guy got upset. And he slapped him in the face. When he slapped him, let's say he slapped him like in a certain way, and so that guy he had some, let's say, health issue or whatever. He caused him to die, and he slapped him, and then he had a heart attack, for example. That is semi-intentional because usually if you slap someone, they don't die. Categories of killing. Intentional, right? like you want to say first degree murder, semi-intentional manslaughter, and accidental, right? Accidental. So for all three of those categories, the one who does the killing, or like, there's a certain money that has to be paid to the family of the deceased. There's a certain money that has to be paid to the family of the deceased, and so that's paid by some people called the like the investors of the kid. So when that happens, the inheritance killer have paid because the inheritance has paid. They have to pay. So that's the way. Assalamu alaikum. I don't know what happened. I think I lost you there. Uh, you guys hear me though now? Just let me know in the chat. It shows that my mic is on, but we got cut off. Is the voice good? Okay, alhamdulillah. All right, so now only in the first two cases is it sinful, right? It's sinful, and just remember, just so that you know, we're talking about a Muslim if he kills another Muslim, or a very specific type of non-Muslim, right? There's certain non-Muslims that it would be sinful for us to kill, and what the amount of money that would have to be paid is not the same as it would be for a Muslim. So, yeah, and generally speaking, I'm going to be talking about only the case of when a Muslim kills another Muslim. These are the cases that I'm going to be mentioning. Now, that doesn't mean for a Muslim to go out and killing non-Muslims. No, it doesn't mean that. It just means within the rules of Islam, there's a certain difference in the amount of money that would be paid for killing a certain type of non-Muslim, right? This doesn't apply to all non-Muslims. It's only for some. Uh, so for some non-Muslims, you do have to pay if you kill them unjustly, right? But if this is not general across the board for all non-Muslims. So I just wanted to for you to keep that in mind. So also there's an expiation that is due for the killing. The expiation is to free a non-defective Muslim slave. If unable, then one must fast 2 consecutive lunar months. So This is something that has to be done by the killer. The killer has to do the expiation. So if the killer has a Muslim slave, then what does he have to do? He has to free that Muslim slave. That Muslim slave has to be certain characteristics, certain attributes, which is what? That he is free from defects. So that Muslim slave, if he, let's say, is missing a leg, is missing a hand, if that Muslim slave is blind, or let's say like that has the physical defect that it would hinder them from making money, then that Muslim slave would not qualify to be paid as an expiation. So that's why the author said a free to free a non-defective Muslim slave. So if the killer, if he did not have a non-defective Muslim slave, because, for example, he didn't own one, or, for example, he knew where to get one from, but he didn't have the money to buy it and to free it. So in this case, what happens, or he can't find one, let's say he can't find one to buy, to free it. What happens in that case? Then he moves to the second thing. And he moves to the second option, which is to fast 2 consecutive lunar months. So this is the expiation for killing that will be due in all those cases. Whether he was sinful or not, yani whether it was intentional killing or semi-intentional killing or accidental killing. He has to pay the expiation. So if he has a Muslim slave that fits that description with no defects that prevent them from making money, if he has that slave, he frees him. If he doesn't have that slave, but he knows where to get one, and he can buy one, so he goes and he buys it, and then he sets it free, and then that's it. The expiation is done. If he doesn't know where to find one, he can't find one, or he knows where to find one, but he can't afford to buy one, so he's unable to get that slave. What does he do? He fasts 2 consecutive lunar months. So what does that mean to fast 2 consecutive lunar months? It means, for example, let's say right now we just started the month of Muharram. And recently we started the month of Muharram. So let's say the person, he started fasting the first of Muharram. So he would fast all of Muharram. And then what would he do? He would, let's say on the 29th of Muharram, he goes and sights the crescent. Does he see it? Does he not see it? If he sees it, then boom. The next day is a new month. So the first month now, he fasted that first month now. So now he goes into the second lunar month. And when that second lunar month happens, then that's 2. And he has to do it consecutive. What does that mean, consecutive? It means without any, all of them in a row. He has to do all those days in a row. And if he misses one day, even with an excuse, like even if he was sick or even if he was like truly unable to fast and he misses that day, then what happens? He has to go back to the beginning. And meaning, let's say he fasted, uh, let's say he fasted like 50 days straight, right? 50 days in a row. He's getting close to the end. On day 55, let's say, uh, he became sick and he had to take medicine. So he broke his fast with an excuse. So he's not sinful. But since he broke it, now his count goes back to zero and he has to start all over again. And this shows that this is for so that people don't do these things, so that people don't put themselves in these situations where they have to pay an expiation. And this is what the expiation is about. Meaning that it's so that the person makes sure that he thinks twice before he makes the wrong decision. SubhanAllah. So we gave examples of all three. And then the author said here, murder subjects the murderer to being killed. So the first type of killing, like we said, the intentional killing, this makes it so that the murderer, he would be killed. Yani, the judgment is that the person who did the killing, uh, he would be, if the family of the deceased, if they want to have him killed, then he would be killed. And he would be killed the same exact way. It says, unless the inheritors of the deceased forgive the murderer for compensation or without a cause. So in the Islamic law, and in the law revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if a Muslim intentionally kills another Muslim unjustly, then the family of the victim, they have the choice. Either the murderer gets killed in the same way that he killed, or the murderer doesn't get killed, but he has to pay money, or the murderer gets to go for free. That's up to the inheritors of the deceased. So that's for intentional killing. In the case of killing someone by mistake or semi-mistake, yani, like the accidental we mentioned, that's no sin. And in the case where it was uh, semi-intentional or semi-accidental, they have to pay blood money. So only in the case of intentional killing is the law of an eye for an eye enacted, meaning he would be executed if that's what the inheritors want. So in the case of killing someone by mistake or semi-mistake, payment of blood money, diya, is mandatory, which is 100 camels for a free male Muslim and half of that for a free female Muslim. The elements of the diya vary according to the homicide. Inshallah, when we get into a deeper book in the Islamic law, we're going to all these details. But basically, don't kill any Muslims. Okay? Don't kill any Muslims. The next is to beat a person unrightfully. Subhanallah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi." أو كما قال. What does that mean? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The perfect Muslim is the Muslim who the Muslims are safe from his tongue and his hands." Allahu Akbar. How many Muslims out there with their poisonous tongues that insult Muslims, that talk bad about Muslims, that gossip about Muslims, that slander Muslims, lie about Muslims, criticize Muslims. Look what they're wearing. Look at their children. Look at the car that they're driving. Oh, look at him and look at her, etc. Na'udhu billah, the sick hearts filled with envy, filled with arrogance, filled with enmity, the diseases of the heart. Instead of looking at another Muslim and criticizing another Muslim and talking about another Muslim, focus on yourself. Because I guarantee you that that Muslim who is criticizing another Muslim, they are in a even worse situation. They're in a bad situation. They need to fix themselves. And if that's the case with what they say, then imagine the one who hits a person unjustly. Abu Dawood and others narrated in the Sahih Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إن الله عز وجل يعذب الذين يعذبون الناس في الدنيا. This means Allah tortures in the hereafter those who torture unjustly the people in this life. So think about that. Are you torturing others? Do you, by your actions and your words, are you torturing another Muslim? Because if so, then this, yani unjustly. Yeah, because if so, then this hadith would apply to you. Because if so, then you are in danger. Because if so, then you need to change. Because if so, then you have to think about the hereafter. You have to think about the grave. You have to think that whatever it is that you have inside and whatever it is that you feel is not going to be stronger or worse or more severe than what you will face in the hereafter, than what you will encounter in the hereafter for the things that you have done. For every injustice committed with the hand, for every injustice committed with the tongue, no matter what you felt, no matter this and no matter that, no matter the reason or the trigger, if you commit injustice, what would be coming to you in the hereafter is stronger and more severe and harder than whatever it is that you had to deal with in this world. So change the way you think. Change your mentality. Think about how much more easy it would be to deal with the right now than to deal with the consequences of the hereafter for those that cross the line. So, yani, the righteous Muslims, the pious Muslims, they think in terms of moments and seconds and how what is the accountability that applies to me, even with the smallest thing, even with the look, even with the speech, even with uh, a needle. Those righteous people would think about, I'm going to be asked about this in the hereafter. And what's going to be my answer? So when you think that way, things become easier. And when you think that way, it becomes easier to deal with things. It becomes easier to deal with whatever makes you mad or whatever triggers you or whatever you feel that you cannot be patient on. It makes it easy. And also, and he's similar to hitting a Muslim unjustly or beating a Muslim unjustly, is scaring the Muslims and pointing a weapon at them. In the confirmed hadith, it says, "Man ashara ila akhihi bi hadida." فإن الملائكة تلعنه وإن كان أخاه لأبيه وأمه. رواه ابن حبان. This means that the one who points a weapon or a steel weapon or a sword to his brother, indeed the angels will damn him, even if it was his blood brother. And this is if the person intended to scare him. As for if he did not intend to scare him and the other one was not scared, and so he pointed, let's say, a sword at him, then there is no sin on him. So in that case, that wouldn't apply. The next one that the author mentioned is taking a bribe and giving a bribe, to receive or give a bribe. So among the sins of the heart, it's among the sins of the hand, which is an enormous sin, is to take a bribe or to give a bribe. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, or Abu Hurairah said, لعن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الراشية والمرتشية في الحكم. Which means that Abu Hurairah said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he damned the one who gives the bribe and the one who takes a bribe, and for like a judgment, like let's say a judge takes a bribe so that he can convict someone of something that they didn't do, or to prevent somebody's right from being fulfilled, or to um, make some sort of falsehood happen. As for taking the bribe, this is forbidden upon the ruler, even if he rules with what is correct. As for giving the bribe, it is only sinful if the one who is giving the bribe was seeking falsehood. So the one that gives a judge or a ruler a bribe, or he gives him a gift, if it was so that he can give a false judgment, or so that he can achieve what he does not have the right to get, or to harm a Muslim unjustly, then the giver of the bribe is an enormous sinner, and the one who gives the gift is an enormous sinner by that giving. And the one who takes the bribe and the one who takes that gift also, he is sinful for taking it. Likewise, the one who um, as for there's a different case. As for if the person giving the bribe was giving the bribe so that he can get the proper ruling, and so that the judge or the ruler would rule with the truth, or to deflect injustice off of himself, or to fulfill his right, then only the taker of the bribe becomes an enormous sinner, and the one who gives the bribe is not sinful because of his necessary emergency to achieve his right. So this here, the understanding the issue of the bribe, if you're giving a bribe so that things can go properly, yani so that the right would be fulfilled, so that the person can get their right, so that the ruler or the judge actually gives the right judgment, rules in the right way, this is permissible to do, to give. But for the judge, it's not permissible for them to take it. The one taking the bribe, it's not permissible for him to take the bribe, uh, even if he rules with the truth. But the one who gives it, if he's giving it so that justice can happen, he's not sinful. He can do it. Now, it's not called bribing to give money to someone to speak to the ruler on your behalf for a permissible matter. So this is a permissible, you could call it a reward, right? Or a permissible, let's say, a permissible, if you want to say tip, a permissible prize. Okay, a permissible prize. Let's say a permissible prize. Like you want someone, for example, someone has access to the ruler, and you give them some money so that they can go to the ruler and then speak about your issue on your behalf. Because you can't get to the ruler, but that person can get to the ruler. So you give that person a gift, or you give that person money so that he could do it. So this is a permissible prize. Nah. The next one that the author mentioned is among the sins of the hand, is to burn an animal alive unless it is harmful, and this method is the only way to repel it. So it's not permissible to burn an animal alive, except in an emergency. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يعذب بالنار إلا ربها, which means no one tortures with the fire except the Lord of the fire. Yani, it's not permissible for us to burn an animal alive or burn another human being alive, except if that's the only way to kill it. That's the only way to avoid its harm. So it's not permissible to do that. As for branding the animal in his face, this is forbidden among the enormous sins. As for shocking the cow and the like with electricity before slaughtering it, this is not permissible because it contains torturing the animal. Likewise, it is not permissible to neuter some animals like the cat. However, it is permissible to neuter the cow before it gets uh, big because its meat becomes tastier by that. However, after it gets big, it is not permissible to neuter it. And among what is forbidden is to um, put a living worm on a hook to fish with, because this contains torturing the animal. So it's not permissible to torture animals. So when you want to go fishing, you have to use a dead worm. You can't put an alive worm on the hook. Among the sins of the hand is to mutilate the animal. And the meaning of mutilation is to cut off its parts and changing its physical structure, because that contains torture for the animal. Hence, it is not permissible to poke out its eye, or to cut off its foot, or cut its hand, or cut off its nose, or its ear, or the like, even if this animal was the type of animal that's recommended to kill, like the pig and the ape. So there's certain animals that are permissible are recommended to kill. So this is like harmful animals, also like filthy animals like the pig. So it's recommended to kill the pig. So you can literally like just kill pigs just to kill them. You can shoot them. You can shoot bows and arrows at them. You can shoot guns at them. There's this place in Texas where they have a wild boar problem. And so there's this service that you can take, you pay for it, etc. They take you on a helicopter, and you can just, shoot as many pigs as you want. And they want you to do it because they need to get rid of these pigs. So you can do that. But even if the animal is recommended to kill, it's not permissible to mutilate it. Uh, as for dissecting an animal to study it while it is alive after giving it anesthesia, if it was a non-edible animal, among what is permissible to kill, and that animal does not feel any torture, then it's permissible. That's the judgment of that for all you biology students out there. Then the author said, to play with dice or anything which involves gambling, even children's games with walnuts and cubical pieces. So to play with dice because it's by chance. So any game that involves chance, in order to play that game, it goes by chance only, then it's forbidden to play that game, even if there's no gambling involved. So this is why the author mentioned the dice. Because how do you play the game with dice? For example, it's a board game, and how many spots do you move on the board? It depends on the roll of the dice. So if you roll a 5, then you move 5 spaces. If you roll a 2, then you move 2 spaces, for example. So this is by chance. It's not strategy. It's not skill. So this is haram. Uh, when you spin, for example, a wheel, like certain games, you spin a wheel and then there's a number, and then like that certain number, you have to move those spaces. This is haram because it's based by chance. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whoever plays with the die, it's as if he immersed his hand in the meat of pigs and its blood. And so games that are based on chance and guessing, these games, they lead to conflict and sedition. And of course, we've seen that, like the people that gamble, people that play like blackjack, people that play poker, people that play even throwing dice on the street. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen that. What they do is people put down money and then they roll the dice, and then whoever gets the highest number takes all the money. So somebody would get upset that they lost their money, then what they do, they pull out their gun, they shoot the person, for example. So this is really bad. So this has to do with any game that the basis of the game is using chance or guessing, and not that the basis of the game is thinking and strategy. As for chess, so this is not a guessing game. It's based on strategy. It's based on tactics. It's based on thinking. So it's not forbidden. However, it is disliked to play it. In any game that involves gambling, then it's forbidden because of the gambling. So let's say we're playing a permissible game. Let's say we're playing chess, right? It's a permissible game. But then if we wager on the results of that game, then it becomes forbidden. Then the author said to play musical instruments like the lute, or rabab, flute, or string instruments, and to play any of the forbidden instruments, this is a sin of the hand. Then the author said to intentionally touch a marriageable female without a barrier, or touch her lustfully with one, even if the person in this case is of the same gender or a mahram. So when we say the marriageable woman, we mean the marriageable woman that's not actually your wife, for example. So a marriageable woman is someone that is possible for you to marry them, and Islamically it's possible for you to marry them. And the non-marriageable, the mahram, is the woman, for example, or the opposite gender, that Islamically it's not possible for you to marry them ever. So like your own mother, your own sister, etc. So if the woman is not marriageable, then it is forbidden to intentionally touch them without a barrier. So without a barrier, like skin to skin contact, or like, for example, touching their hair, touching their nails, for example, without a barrier, without gloves, for example, this is sinful, even though they don't feel lust. So even if it's without desire, so to touch a marriageable woman who is not your wife intentionally, without a barrier, whether there's lust or not, whether there's desire or not, is haram. And if there is a barrier, but the person touched them lustfully, then this is also haram. So let's say the man has a glove and the woman has a glove and they want to shake hands to say hello. This is permissible to do. He can shake her hand, but if he shakes her hand and feels desire, then it's forbidden. And in the case of the same gender, it's only forbidden to touch the same gender if it's with desire. So if it's a man and a man, he can touch his skin without a barrier as long as it's without desire. So he can hug the man, a man can hug another man, a man can shake another man's hand, a man can kiss another man on the cheek, as long as it's without desire. If it's with desire, then it becomes forbidden. And the same thing with mahram. So for example, a man can, hold his mom's hand, he can kiss his mom, he can hug his mom, but the moment that it becomes with desire, this is forbidden. Then the other said to depict that which has a soul. To depict that which has a soul, yani, it means yani, to like either like draw a picture of something that has a soul. And we're talking here in the Shafi'i school, whether that thing was uh, a statue or whether it was something that was engraved in the wall or something that was drawn on a paper or something that was sewn into fabric, this is haram. And the three madhabs agree upon that. The Hanafis, the Hanbalis, and the Shafi'is. And in the Shafi'i school, it is forbidden to depict something that which has a soul, even if it's not a full body. So, for example, in the Shafi'i school, it's forbidden to draw, let's say, a head. For example, like the head of a cat or the head of a human or the hand of a human or the hand of an animal. Just the hand or just the head or just one body part of something that could possibly live. In the Shafi'i school, it's forbidden. So it's to produce that in the Shafi'i school is forbidden. Now, if someone has, let's say, uh, not that they drew it themselves, but they have an image, like let's say a picture. They didn't take the picture, but they have a picture. In order to keep it in the Shafi'i school, in order for it to be permissible to keep that picture, then you have to change it so that that thing that's in the picture, it couldn't possibly live. As for the Malikis, they said it's permissible to picture or to depict that which has a soul as long as it is not a statue and as long as it does not have a shadow, as long as it doesn't have length, width, and depth, as long as it is not three-dimensional, not a three-dimensional illusion like when you draw something on paper and it looks like 3D. No, when something actually has a length, width, and depth, because that is forbidden by consensus. And so this judgment, according to Imam Malik, it contains a facility for the people. Because in this day and age, many people have pictures. As for the statue, whether it's made out of wood or metal or the like, it is forbidden by consensus. Subhanallah, how many Muslims have been in their house and they have action figures and they have a full body Batman and they have a, a toy that is like a teddy bear or like like a Barbie or a little small figurine. That it's not a doll. It's not a baby doll. Baby dolls are exceptions. We know that. I'm talking about it's literally a Spider-Man. It's literally a Batman. It's literally a Barbie. It's literally a teddy bear. It's literally a horse, which is a full body. It's literally a statue. It's shocking to me. It's something that I don't understand how this could happen. There is literally no reason for it at all. There's literally no reason to have this full body. No literal reason. Your kid wants it, you tell him, no, this is haram. If they want to cry about it, let them cry about it. You have to teach your children properly. Some parents, they do not implement the rules of the religion because their hearts feel soft towards their children. You're destroying your children. You have to tell them, no, this is haram. No, this is bad. No, we don't do this. No, we don't get this. Subhanallah. As for taxidermy, taxidermy is like when you take like a dead animal and you take out all the guts from it, and then you stuff it with like cotton or something like that, and you sew it back together so it looks like the animal like standing there. This is permissible. So whoever has, let's say, these pictures in their house, the angels of mercy won't enter. So the picture, if it was in a image that it could possibly live, this prevents the angels of mercy from entering that person's house, even if those pictures were inside of a box. Except if that those pictures were like on a carpet that's stepped on. So those are the angels of mercy. They don't enter. And if there's a dog in the house, also they don't enter. The angels of mercy, they don't enter. As for praying in a room that has uh, pictures of something that could live, a full picture of something that could live inside of a closet where they're not seen, these do not prevent the reward in the prayer. As for if that picture was in front of him or the person looks at it, then it's disliked in the prayer. In contrast to the reflection of the person's image in the mirror, this does not affect and this does not make it disliked, except if the person becomes distracted by that. As for having pictures of sheikhs and uh, seeking blessings from it, this is an ugly innovation. In contrast to seeking blessings from the pictures of the Prophet's hair, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or a picture of his honorable grave, because this is a good thing and there's no problem with that. And some Malikis, they said it's permissible to sell the image that is made uh, on sweets to be eaten. And they said it's permissible to sell those pictures. So let's say there's like a cookie and it has, let's say, the shape of something like a teddy bear or whatever. Some Malikis, they said it's permissible to sell that. Some Shafis, they were explicit in saying that it's permissible to keep an image if it was on the floor or a carpet that is being stepped on, uh, or anything that is kept, or anything that's considered to be not valued or not uh, elevated. I mean, something that is has like a low status. Then you like a carpet that's stepped on. You step on the carpet, right? You don't put like the carpet like on your wall and like you to have it placed on the wall. You step on it, and let's say there's like the image of something on it. The Shafis they said is permissible to keep it, and likewise they said it's permissible to keep the image that is on the Are there any questions about anything else before we conclude? There's no sound. Did you guys hear the answers about the decorations? Okay, so basically the question is mini decoration like a mini house or mini animals with no faces. I don't know what it means with no faces, but if it's a 3D, if it's a length, width, and depth, like a statue or a little figurine, and it's the full body of an animal, then it has to be, yeah, this is forbidden, and it has to be changed in a way that it couldn't live, even if it's really small. So like toy soldiers, little figurines, little animals, all that has to be destroyed. For the pictures in the books, according to a Shafi'i and Abu Hanifa and Imam Ahmad, if that picture in the book is a full image, meaning that that thing could possibly live, if a soul went inside of it, then it's forbidden to have it. Forbidden to have it. And the only way to uh, for it to be permissible to keep it is if it's modified. It has to be modified. Any other questions regarding that? So what's agreed upon in the three madhabs is to depict. Yes, many like I don't know what means doll jewels for dolls. Doll houses is fine. Inanimate objects, things that don't have souls are fine. Family pictures uh, in the Shafi'i school, in order to be able to keep that, it has to be modified in a way that the body is not a full body. So let's say like it's a picture of a person with like them standing up. In the Shafi'i school, it's haram to keep that unless you like, let's say, cut off the head, for example. Just to give you an example. But in the Maliki school, it's permissible as long as it's not a statue. Most people they go according to Imam Malik. But the angels of mercy, they don't enter a house that has those pictures. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. My advice is, stay away from full body pictures. Are there any other questions? And inanimate objects, doll houses and stuff like that is fine. But the dolls themselves, if they're full bodies, then it's not. Any other questions? بارك الله فيكم. نهلل لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. ربي اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.